What if the paintings hanging in museums around the world are actually preserving the most barbaric moments from ancient history? That classical-looking painting of Romans in a Colosseum? It's actually showing the moment before innocent people were torn to pieces for entertainment. That beautiful composition of figures in togas? Look closer. You're watching Christians about to be burned alive as human torches. Today, I'm revealing the mind-blowing historical truths behind 4 masterpieces that show just how horrific ancient Rome really was. At first glance, this stunning painting shows a victorious gladiator standing over his fallen opponent in the Roman Colosseum. But every detail of this masterpiece tells a deeper, darker story about ancient Rome's obsession with blood sports. The title Pollice Verso means with a turned thumb in Latin, referring to the infamous gesture that decided whether a defeated gladiator would live or die. Look at the crowd. Their thumbs are pointed downward as they call for the death of the fallen fighter. The painting's power comes from this frozen moment of decision where a man's life hangs in the balance. Study the Fallen Gladiator, a retiarius recognizable by his trident and net, now lying helpless as he raises 2 fingers in a desperate plea for mercy. But mercy isn't coming. The standing Murmillo awaits the final signal, his face hidden from us, becoming an anonymous agent of death. What makes this painting even more fascinating is the controversy it sparked. The exact meaning of the Pollice Verso gesture in ancient Rome remains debated to this day. Did thumbs down mean death or life? Gérôme's interpretation, that thumbs down meant death, became so powerful and convincing that it shaped our modern understanding of Roman culture. This painting literally rewrote history. Most shocking of all are the white-robed women in the front row, the Vestal Virgins. These were Rome's sacred priestesses, supposedly representing purity and virtue. Yet, Gérôme shows them as bloodthirsty spectators in ringside A-lister seats, eagerly signaling for death. The artist was likely inspired by the words of Prudentius, an ancient Christian writer who described how the modest virgin with a turn of her thumb bids him pierce the breast of his fallen foe. The scene isn't just a historical recreation. It's a moment that forces us to confront how entertainment and cruelty were once inseparable. Every time you see a thumbs down gesture today, you're unknowingly referencing this painting and the brutal spectacles it depicts. This haunting masterpiece took Gérôme 20 years to complete, and the artist himself considered it one of his most important works. What makes it so powerful is how it captures the final moments before an unspeakable tragedy, the mass execution of Christians in ancient Rome. The scene unfolds in the Circus Maximus, Rome's largest arena. While most paintings focus on the moment of violence, Gérôme instead shows us something more profound: the calm before the storm. In the center, a group of Christians, emaciated from imprisonment and dressed in rags, kneel in prayer as lions emerge from darkened passages below. Look closely at those lions. They're hesitating, momentarily blinded by daylight after being starved in dark chambers. As Gérôme himself explained in a letter, coming from the dark dens below, their first action was of astonishment upon facing the bright daylight and the great mass of people surrounding them. They did then, as does today, the Spanish bull when turned into the arena. Entering with a bound, he suddenly halts in the very middle of a stride. In the background, other Christians are already tied to crosses, covered in pitch, ready to be burned alive as human torches. A detail taken directly from the Roman historian Tacitus, who wrote that Christians were fascinated on crosses, and when daylight failed, were burned to serve as lamps by night. What makes this painting particularly chilling is the contrast between the calmness of the martyrs and the horror that awaits them. Their faith appears unshaken even as death approaches. Their emaciated bodies tell us they've already suffered greatly in Roman prisons. which Gérôme described as terrible dungeons. The artist's meticulous research is evident in every detail, from the accurate depiction of the Circus Maximus, note the spina and meta in the center of the track, to the wheel tracks in the sand from earlier chariot races. Even the positioning of the Imperial box connecting to the Palace of the Caesars is historically correct. This isn't just a painting, it's a time machine that transports us to one of history's darkest chapters, forcing us to witness the price paid by early Christians for their beliefs. This massive canvas captures perhaps the most disturbing scene in our countdown, the aftermath of a young Christian woman's execution, ordered by Emperor Nero himself as a twisted form of entertainment. The painting's title refers to a Greek myth where Dirce, Queen of Thebes, was put to death by being tied to a bull and smashed against rocks. According to Roman historian Suetonius, Nero recreated this punishment by condemning a beautiful young Christian girl to the same fate. What we see is the horrific conclusion, the moment when Nero, standing to the left in Imperial Purple, coldly examines the lifeless body of the girl and the fallen bull. The composition is theatrical, drawing our eyes directly to the central tragedy. A pale, nude female body juxtaposed against the dark mass of the dead animal. What's particularly disturbing is how Siemiradzki contrasts violence with beauty. The girl's body shows almost no signs of the horrific death she just suffered. No wounds, no blood, no dirt. This unsettling beautification of violence reveals how 19th century academic painting often mixed eroticism with violence under the guise of historical or religious themes. Look at the crowd's faces. They show almost no emotion, no horror at what they've witnessed. This emotional detachment was criticized even when the painting was first exhibited, with critics noting that even the Christian captives visible on the right side of the canvas seem strangely unmoved by their companion's fate. Fascinatingly, Siemiradzki based this monumental work on a small photograph taken in a Roman slaughterhouse. He had commissioned the photo to study a dead bull, but the curious butchers gathered around the animal also made it into the picture, later transformed by the artist's brush into Roman courtiers. Our final painting shifts from the horrors of the arena to the brutal reality of Roman conquest. This monumental work captures the decisive moment that sealed Rome's domination of Gaul, modern-day France, when the Gallic chieftain Vercingetorix surrendered to Julius Caesar in 52 BC. Standing at over 10 feet tall and nearly 16 feet wide, this painting was designed to overwhelm viewers with its sheer scale. Royer places us right in the middle of a historical turning point, the moment when one civilization falls and another triumphs. The composition draws all eyes to the central drama, Vercingetorix kneeling and casting his weapons at Caesar's feet. Look at the contrasting body language. Caesar stands rigid and emotionless, the embodiment of Roman authority, while Vercingetorix's posture shows both defiance and defeat. This surrender came after the Battle of Alesia, where Caesar's engineering genius allowed him to simultaneously besiege Vercingetorix's forces and defend against a relief army. After months of starvation, the Gallic leader had no choice but to surrender, ending 7 years of bloody resistance against Roman expansion. What's fascinating about this painting is how it romanticizes both figures. Vercingetorix appears noble even in defeat, while Caesar embodies stern but dignified victory. The painting's dramatic use of light and shadow enhances its emotional impact, drawing our eyes to the central figures and emphasizing the gravity of this historical turning point. Through this canvas, Royer invites us to contemplate themes of honor, defeat, and the shifting tides of power that have shaped our world. These 4 paintings remind us that art isn't just about beauty, it's often about preserving history's most shocking moments. Which of these scenes from ancient Rome surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into art history's darkest chapters.